Welcome to Podcast on Wheels, powered by Power Loops. Today in the studio, we have a special guest, Mickey Hyder. He is from Nashville. He's been here his whole life. He's going to tell us some stories about growing up here, some things he's been able to do, how many times he can bench 225, some cool stories about people he hung out with, like a guy named Garth, and so on and so forth. But, Mickey, thank you for being in the studio today.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
Awesome. Well, you've hosted radio shows, you've played baseball, you've done a lot of things, you worked in the music industry, but you've grown up here. If you could tell us about, you said there was one skyscraper and things, and what have you seen and things?
Nashville is truly amazing. I mean, you can tell by all the cranes still sitting downtown where they're about to build a 74-story skyscraper. I understand it's going to be the tallest in Tennessee.
Okay.
And I remember there was the L&C Tower, which still exists, but that was it. I mean, it looked like a corn stalk in an empty field standing down there, and that in the state capitol was just about the skyline when I grew up. And now you can't see one building for another one going up beside it, and a lot of people are living in those things like condos up 50 stories, which kind of freaks me out. But I've seen a lot of changes, obviously, in my years here in Nashville. And it's humbling to me somewhat that it's grown from where I kind of knew everybody to there's more people from California than than our native Nashvillians left. So it's just been an amazing time. And you and I were talking before the show.
Right.
I remember getting our first TV when I was a very small kid, and now we all carry around a TV in our pocket.
Yeah.
And that's an amazing time to have lived on this planet Earth.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So, I've gotten to see a lot of things. Because I was self-employed, I got to meet a lot of people.
And have you always been self-employed? That's what?
Well, when I first got out of college, I taught school for a while.
Okay.
I decided I needed to make more money. So I went to work for a company called Bristol Myers, who does buffer and Excedrin. So I had a few years where I tried corporate America and even public school America.
Right.
I did 3 years but I was also playing in a band part-time.
Okay.
And I was making more money playing part-time in a band than I was teaching school 5 days a week. So I thought, something's wrong with this picture. Went on the road as a musician for 3 years. That's a self-employed thing.
Yeah.
Came back, got a job in a publishing company, learned that business, and opened my own publishing company and did that for 20 years. So that's kind of the prerequisite to everything else.
Nice.
So in 1999, downloading happened, and there was LimeWire and all these free things, and publishers and producers weren't making money because you didn't have to go buy an album anymore. You just download it.
Yeah.
And I kept talking to the industry people, and nobody's got an answer for that. And we still don't to a major degree.
Right.
So I had already been offered by a large company called BMG that owned RCA and a whole bunch of record labels to buy my catalog. And so I thought, if you're ever going to jump, here's the time.
Right.
So in 1999, I did. I bailed.
Okay.
Sold everything. I moved my office furniture here behind us.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know, we're in beautiful Shelby Park at the Old Timers Baseball Complex.
Yeah.
And so since 1999, I've been doing baseball. My wife says, you're weird. All your jobs have play in front of it. You're either playing music or playing ball.
Yeah.
And I said, so make your point.
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
I don't see the problem.
There you go. I don't either. I don't either.
So my office is at a park, and that's a good thing. And I get to look out my window at a field that I played on as a child with my dad and later with my son. And I probably won't play with the grandson.
Yeah. But he has played out there, right?
He has played several games already.
Yeah.
And for those of you looking in, I've already design my eulogy.
Okay.
When I fall off the tractor out here,
Yeah.
my son Nick is supposed to spread my ashes out behind on a plate because he and I are both catchers.
Okay.
And he's supposed to tell anyone that's here that Dad wanted you to know that his ash started here, so his ash ought to end up here. So that's my eulogy.
I like it. I like it. Oh man. If I'm still here, I'll come watch. If I'm still here, I want to be here.
Well, please do.
Let's see. So 99, you got out of the music business, you're getting into baseball. But you left one little thing out about this park here. There's somebody's name on that field over there. Who's that?
Well, that's my name.
Okay.
That was quite unexpected.
Okay.
In the flood of 2010, a bunch of Nashville got washed away. I don't know if people realize that or not, but it went 8 blocks up into downtown Nashville.
Wow.
Where we're sitting now, the water would be over us. It was it was about 15 feet deep on this field. And so there wasn't much left. We had to do a lot of repairs to the existing field.
Okay.
There was a softball complex that was located where the new field is that you just mentioned.
Right.
And it washed it away completely, and they decided not to rebuild. I had a great relationship with Metro Nashville Parks, and so they said, if we give you about 3 acres here, would you consider, if we supply you with the materials and such, would you build a field? Because you've already done a bunch of repairs and advancements to the existing one. So we know you can do it because you've already done it.
Right.
So me and some prisoners with the sheriff's department who were anxious to, they were bored after getting their DUI, so they needed something to do.
Right.
So me and the prisoners got to work, and 14 months later, we've completed that field next door, which is, I did all the things that I didn't like about this field, I fixed on that field. And so 14 months later, had the sheriff come out and throw out the first pitch. And so for 10 years, there's been a field over there. And then during an old timers baseball banquet, which is a fraternal organization I'm part of that just advances and supports baseball in general. They, unbeknownst to me, I'm sitting up there as master of ceremonies that night, and I introduced the president, and the president introduced Tommy Lynch, the head of Metro Parks. And I'm looking through my notes, and I'm going, I don't know what's going on here.
Right.
But he gets up and says that the Metro Park Board had voted to, since I had built it, name that Mickey Hyder Field. So that's how it came to be. And I had nothing prepared to say thank you. So I quoted my grandson, and I said, I'll just quote my grandson. Boy, I didn't see that coming.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So anyway, that's 2 fields here now. I didn't realize that my workload would exactly double when I built the field, but we also, instead of playing 250 games a year on this field, we now play another 250 on that field. So there's 400 to 500 games a year get played here, and that's
a lot of reps, a lot of fun, and kids getting better. Right?
Exactly.
And it's a great environment around here. The golf course, the ball field, people are.
It's a beautiful place.
It is.
And there's 1 million people that go through this park a year, and about 35,000 go through these 2 fields a year.
Wow.
So, that's including umpires and fans and siblings and all the whole bit. But, the way I look at it, all those kids and these adults, I mean, we got adult games here tonight.
Cool.
And they're doing something semi-productive.
Yeah.
They're at least getting exercise, if nothing else.
Right.
And some of the guys that are playing here tonight probably got cut from their high school team. And some of them probably played a little pro ball.
Yeah.
So you got the haves and the have-nots, but they're all having great time.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win.
Absolutely. So do we go back and talk a little bit about music, baseball? Where we go here? We want to, I love that you have this experience. You've been on the radio. You've got these stories, and I almost feel like I'm watching this show instead of hosting the show right now. I mean, that's how I feel. So just, you told us about some of the musicians, and I've got to tour the office and see some things, and you told me about some guys that pitched out here, and maybe an outfielder or some guy that we've heard of. So,
well, as far as the baseball goes, that's the most current.
Okay.
There have been three Cy Young Award winners that pitched off the field out there. R.A. Dickey, David Price, and Wayne Garland are all Cy Young Award winners in the big leagues.
Yeah.
And they all grew up pitching right here. R.A. told me a story on my radio show back in the day that he was pitching at Yankee Stadium for the very first time as a rookie. And he was standing on the mound and he thought to himself, man, this is a long way from Shelby Park. And he said, the last time I pitched on that mound, he said, I forgot my socks. So I just pulled my pants down over my shoes and pitched in no socks. And that's a true R.A. Dickey story.
Awesome.
As you mentioned, there's been an MVP, Mookie Betts, who's a pretty good player.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
He's probably played 30, 40 games here, either with his summer league team or when he was playing over here against one of the high schools.
Okay.
So just more history than I can even mention, really. I mean, there's things that happen here every year that go down in history that I didn't anticipate or plan or anything else, but it's a magical place for me. 110 years old. I think it's the fourth or fifth oldest park of continuous use anywhere.
Okay.
So that Rickwood in Birmingham is the oldest.
All right.
Then you've got Fenway and Wrigley. Then I think it's here. Now there were some other parks that would have been older, but they don't exist or they didn't use them at some point or something.
Right.
But for 110 seasons, with floods, with world wars, with pandemics, there's been baseball played on that field over there. And that's crazy to me in some ways.
So you played, you were a catcher, right?
Right.
Your son was a catcher.
Right.
I got to catch a little bit. Some of my coaches called me a retriever, not a catcher, but that's okay. You know what he meant.
As long as the parents don't know what you look like. If you spent too much time back there looking at them.
They knew. Yeah, they had the great pictures. The best pictures were behind the backstop. I got you. Yeah, I was a retriever. But no, when that took you there and you've kind of run your own business, you built your own way, you've made your own way. And you told me some things that you had to get creative sometimes. You had to do certain things. But if you could go back, would you rather go back to that teaching job, go back to that corporate job, or would you say that this experience is?
Well, obviously, I would go the way I went.
Absolutely.
I would have changed some things along the way.
Okay.
I might have been a lot smarter. but hindsight's 20/20.
Yes, sir.
So
yes, sir.
I could have done things better, knowing what I know now. But, I wouldn't know what I know now if I hadn't have made all these mistakes.
Yeah.
So I think mistakes are just stepping stones to getting to where you're going.
Yeah. And I would like to get your take on this. And we didn't talk about this before the show, but this is just, I get asked by people a lot. They're like, there's a lot of baseball players that are entrepreneurs or business owners or in sales or, and I used to think, well, we go into sales because we really don't know how to do anything else and they're always hiring and it's just, it's a job, no pun intended. I used to be, when I was standing around the hitting turtle before BP sometimes and we were talking,
right?
I may have a manager or somebody say, hey, are y'all over there selling insurance? Let's get to work.
Right.
And now I sell insurance, so it's kind of,
well, I know, but truth be known, every businessman is selling.
Yeah.
And if he's not a businessman.
Right.
So selling is, it's just an integral part of every business.
Right.
Because without customers, there's no business.
Facts.
And if you're smart, you're selling all the time. You're either selling yourself or your equipment, your business, your services.
Right.
It's all about selling.
Yeah.
So every guy that's successful is really a salesman first.
Right.
So I don't think you have to apologize for that. I think you brag about it.
Yeah. I would like to get I'm gonna ask you a little different way. How did baseball and prepare you for life? Did it teach you some lessons? I try to use it. I tried to pick it up and say, this happened in the game, therefore I was prepared for this. And I told Nick when I was on his show last week, I said a story that I don't tell many people, and I've been encouraged to share this. The day I got cut from the first pro team I signed with,
Right.
manager comes to me, hey, Brian, blah, 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 blah. And I go, what do I do now? I was 22, I don't know. I'm like, what do I do? And I drove to the sporting goods store. I'm not sure which one it was. Could have been a Hibbett or whatever. And bought a pair of spikes. I called my dad, and my dad goes, are you not playing tonight? And I was like, no, I'm done. He said, well, what time will you be home? I said, I'm not coming home. I just bought a pair of spikes. And I know these guys are staying in this hotel. They're my teammates. But I know this other team is over here. I'm going back and getting a room in the middle of them, and I'm going to figure it out. Next day, one of the catchers is playing, gets run over at the plate. Hey, you're still here. You want to? So I kind of just got moved. It was independent ball, so it was a little easier to move around, right?
Right.
So baseball prepared me for a lot of things.
Oh, absolutely.
But give me your take on that.
I think it teaches kids to deal with adversity. If you're really good, you fail 6 or 7 times out of 10 when you walk up there with a bat in your hand.
Yeah.
And if you can overcome that and you can get those 3 or 4 hits, then you're a really good player. And I think, and I don't mean to pick on this generation, but this generation of parents is making it awfully easy for kids.
Mm-hmm.
That instead of teaching them how to do something for themselves, I think a lot of parents do it for them.
Right.
And so they're not really prepared to fail. And as you know, we just talked about, failure is part of the victory.
Yeah.
The failures are lessons to teach you how to get to your goal.
Yeah.
That's not the end product.
Mm-hmm.
That's just stepping stones to get you up the steps to where you're going. And baseball is really good at teaching you that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can get up there and strike out and come back up the next at bat and put the ball in play and get a hit, then you're a baseball player.
Yeah.
But you've learned that lesson that you may not get anywhere else, sitting on an iPad or looking at a phone.
No way. There's no way to get that.
And I just wished, and of course every generation thinks the last generation could do better.
Yeah.
But I wish that parents would let their kids fail from time to time, but help them get over that failure.
Mm-hmm.
Teach them to be independent instead of codependent.
There you go.
So that's what I like about baseball, because every parent that's marching their kid out there this week to play baseball, they're really teaching them life lessons, even if it's not intentionally.
Right.
And that's what I love about baseball. And I think it probably, in my mind, does it better than any other sport. There's so many skills involved. As you know, you can be a good hitter and still be terrible fielder. You can be a pretty good fielder and a hitter. You can't run for squat.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And you put all those things together, you're pretty good at that, but you got a lame arm.
Yeah.
So you've got to be prepared from top to bottom.
Yeah, I have played with some outfielders that I thought they could run it to second faster than they could throw it, because they had the wheels, right? But it's like, I don't know if he could throw. He might be able to run it there quicker.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, and we've all had that guy.
Yeah.
That's the reason they call them 5'2" players.
Yeah, exactly.
And most of them's missing 1 or 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Here at Smith Financial Services, we take care of small business owners, 1099 contract workers, and their families. We know insurance can be rough if you're a small business owner, so we are here to make things easy. Visit our website, smithfinancial.services, to learn more.
So I love that about baseball, though. And that's, we all want to make a difference,
right?
Whatever that means. And this is just my little way of a very small part of the world making a little bit of difference, because there's going to be some guys between 30 and 50 out there on this field tonight playing in a playoff game so they can have bragging rights and go drink some beers
There you go.
because they won the local league at their age group. And that's a good thing.
It is.
So, you know, and they'll stand out here in this parking lot and probably have one or two out of the trunk of their car and relive the night and the season, you know. So that's a good thing.
And it's a great experience.
Not bad.
You're good. You're good. The thing that I'm going to steal from you, and that's what I used to say when I coached baseball. I would get up and when I talked to the parents, if I had the travel teams or I was coaching a team or the college, and I would get up and I would say, guys, I'm going to be coaching your kid this year because I'm a great thief. I steal everything that I can get, right? I'm going to go learn and learn and learn.
Absolutely.
I used to say, and I appreciate you giving me that feedback because, like I said, I feel like I'm watching and I'm just like, well, a kid over here, like excited because we're getting to talk baseball. We're talking cool stuff. You know, it's like, I look at it and I've used to say, well, baseball players are good businessmen. They're good at sales because they can deal with failure. You said failure is a part of the victory.
I think so.
But you didn't stop whether they can deal with failure. And I'm looking at it going, okay, you know, I can sit here and look at you now and tell you I've never struck out 3 times in a game. And the reason I remember that is because our college team, we had the big red wiffle ball bat. And if you K'd 3 times, you're carrying that until the next game, right? And you had to sign it and whatever. And if you went on a date, if you went to class, you better be carrying that red bat. That was kind of our thing. So I can vouch that I never struck out 3 times. And then in pro ball kind of stuck. If I go 0 for 2 with 2 Ks, it's like, we got to hit the ball and play, right? Yeah. We got to do it. So, but failure is a part of the victory. Like that just has so much more ring to it, you know? And it's like your experience and being around it and talking and coaching. So what are, you know, you and I got to hit this. We were talking before the show, all right? On your birthday a couple years ago, you're at a gym, you're at the house. Where were you? Tell me that story.
Well, I have a gym right here in the building behind us. We put that in there. It used to be the locker room for Belmont University.
Wow.
So when Belmont moved to their new facility, I just changed that into a workout room.
Okay.
Because we used to work out at a church that Nick and I and a bunch of people attended. Yeah. And they were renovating, and so while the renovation was going on, I just moved all the gear to here, and it fit better. Yeah. Fit my schedule better.
I got you.
So you know, I go over there every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Okay. And I have a friend that's been working with me about 30 years now, and he keeps me. I'm going to be here at 10 o'clock on Friday morning to work out because Rick's going to be here.
That's cool. Yeah.
That's just, you know, it's the accountability. And I'll admit, I probably would miss some days if Rick weren't going to be here. Yeah. But I know that he's going to be here, and I have to be here. And that accountability really helps me, having just someone to be responsible and answer to. Yeah. So we get over there and work out, and usually on my birthday, we usually do something stupid to just because
it's your birthday.
It's my birthday.
Yeah.
I think last year I did 74 push-ups. Okay. So that was, you know, well, we were talking before the show. Back a few years ago, and it was still 70 something. Yeah. I did 225 more than 20 times. So that was.
He said 225 on the bench. 23 times is what he said. He's being in everything and who you are as a person. But I hear that story for the first time in Vegas, sitting at a thing with Nick and a few other guys. And I'm sitting here going, okay, I've met you. I've seen you. How tall are you?
I'm 5'9".
And you weigh?
Right now, about 185.
I was going to say 190. And a couple years ago, you're probably about the same weight, right?
Yeah. At the time I did that, I weighed 182 because we were
182.
Yeah, that was kind of my goal weight at the time.
So, continuing to work out, you got your accountability partner, continuing to live life, continuing to come up here to this ballpark, continuing to give guys like me, you know, an opportunity to talk about something I care about and you care about, and we have that common ground. And it's like, you know, as you continue and you grow, you know, tell us a little bit about your family, what's going on now, kind of like what all, and do you have a play in anything, Nick? How much do you get to watch Ethan? Or you know what I mean? Like, how does that work for you now?
Well, I never get enough time with my grandkids. That's neat to say. And I do work full time here. There's many days that I'll put 12 to 14 hours in on these fields. Mm-hmm. So that part I haven't worked out as well as I'd like to.
Okay.
But I do get to see some of Ethan's games, and part of the reason is because he gets to play here.
Right.
And that works out for me too. They've already booked a couple of tournaments for this fall, and he'll be playing. I watch him pitch and play and all that stuff. But you know, I showed you during one of our conversations a picture of my dad.
Yes.
Standing on the bridge trestle that's near here,
see right
that
from
you
home,
can see
there.
from home plate, with him standing on top of it, because he's one of the last guys that painted that bridge.
Yeah.
Because he used
and
to.
About what year was that picture taken, you think?
It's late 40s.
Late 40s, okay.
So I'd say 47 to 49, something like that.
Okay.
About when I was born.
And how high is that off the ground, just so people would know?
Oh, it's a couple of hundred feet.
I was going to say at least 200 feet. It looks.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, he's on top.
He's standing on top of it with no ropes, no that, because they didn't have all this OSHA stuff to keep you safe. If you fell off, you hope you get in the river.
Get another guy.
He worked for L&N Railroad for the whole time I was a small child, and one of his jobs is he and some other guys had to paint that bridge.
Wow.
So they just had built it, and he painted it.
Yeah.
So I have history here at the park, and that's the reason I don't mind putting in some long days,
right?
Because I'm almost at home.
Yeah,
if you know what I'm saying.
Well, I do think the last time that we were here at the ballpark, I asked Nick. I said, "Hey, man, I may swing by and see you when we head out of town." He said, "No, I'm headed over there to the ballpark to see Dad, because that's when I get to see him." Like, he was coming by to see you,
exactly.
You know, because he's going to be there until this time. So,
yeah, no, it's what I do. And then I have some months off in the wintertime, obviously.
Okay. Yeah,
I do projects and things.
Okay.
Last year, wintertime, we painted everything out here.
Okay.
So that was, but most of the time I got some time off, and that's when my wife and I take our little weekend jaunts to some place or whatever. She has her time, and that I kind of make up for all the time that I spend here at the park. But
I think my wife would like for me to be gone 12 to 14 hours most days too, and then make up. That may work better. I'm gonna take you on that one too. I'm listening to everything.
Well, we probably get along a lot better because I'm not home quite as much.
I was gonna say, I know we would.
But anyway, it's the absence make the heart grow fonder. Isn't that what they say?
Amen. Amen. So, I'm still trying to figure it out.
So I do the best I can while I'm there.
Absolutely.
I'm not there as much as I probably should be.
Absolutely.
But now she comes out here too.
Yeah.
She works out in the workout room also.
Nice.
So she's out here. Her days are Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday.
Okay.
So she'll be out here tonight.
Mm-hmm.
She'll come out. I'll be here waiting for the old men's games to get over.
Sure.
And she'll come in, and I'll spot her on the bench.
Okay.
And do all the little things she does, and kind of hold her accountable like Rick holds me accountable.
Nice.
So, and she does really, really well, for someone her age and her size. So, but she does kind of the same workout I do, really. And does a lot of free weights and barbells and dumbbells and Olympic bench and the whole bit.
Yeah.
So
I would say we'll go over there after the show, but I don't want to get embarrassed because we might get some footage.
I'm not lifting as heavy as I did,
Okay.
so I think you'll be fine.
Well, today's Thursday, so he's off today, so I don't have to go.
I did that yesterday.
I gotcha. So you've grown up in Nashville, from one skyscraper to I don't even know how many are down there.
Oh, gosh.
We stopped at Nissan Field today just to look around. You know what I mean? Just to have it just
it's crazy.
absorbed it.
Yeah.
And so growing up here, your family's here, the ballpark's here. They named the ballpark after you. You've had Cy Young Award winners, MVP players. I've seen pictures of you upstairs, and we can hit a little bit about the music. But tell us, you told me some golfing stories with some musicians or things like that. What's something that you were about to put, and they were making some bets, and this is going, that's going, and different things. But like, give us one of those golf, because I was talking to somebody the other day. And they said, who you got coming on the show next? I said, well, I'm excited, and I hope that Mickey's able to tell me some stories because he told me a few, and I want to hear a few more if you can. And I know these people watching are going to enjoy it.
Well, I was playing golf with a guy by the name of Chet Atkins.
Okay.
And those of you who are old enough to know, Chet Atkins was the premier country guitar player of all times.
Yeah.
I mean, he is iconic. He ended up running RCA Records for many years. So I'm playing golf with Chet Atkins, and it's one of these. This wasn't even a tournament.
Okay.
It's just Chet. I got invited to play with Chet, and there's two other guys that I won't mention because the betting was pretty heavy.
Okay.
And I'm way out of my league as far as just betting.
Yeah.
And I'm over this putt about 6 or 8 feet, and I really need to make this. And Chet says, "You really need to make this. It's like worth $300." And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, the hole went from normal size down to about the size of
right.
And somehow the putt goes in.
Of course it did.
And at the end of the day, I ended up owing like $60 or $70.
Yeah.
And I was never so happy to hand somebody money in my life because it could have been $600. And but so that was, and in fact, I told Chad after I made the putt, I said, probably it'd be a good idea not to tell me what you were playing for because, I couldn't sit out on a tack right now because of that.
Exactly.
But I just had to make it.
And you made it, though.
Well,
you're a baseball player.
Well, I had to. It's one of those things.
I got to make this.
Yeah, I have to make this putt. So.
I got you.
But anyway, there's a lot of. I will tell you one Garth story because I think I've told you all that too. I had the privilege of producing Garth on an album that was a compilation album. For one of the record labels.
Okay.
And so he was one of the guest artists on it.
Sure.
And so I was pretty thrilled that, because Garth had just done a concert in Central Park that there were a million people there.
Yes.
And this is like 2 weeks later or something after that, so he's at the top of his game.
Yeah.
And so, and unbeknownst to me, this is kind of embarrassing. He had been writing with one of my writers in the publishing business.
Okay.
And I actually had seen Garth in the writers' rooms and didn't realize he's Garth.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And so anyway, long story short, he's just got through singing on this cut that's on this album. And he's leaning over my shoulder, and as you know, the Hiders kind of have a dry sense of humor.
Yes.
And he says, "Well, what do you think?" And I said, "It's fine, but Garth Brooks." The funny part is nobody laughed until Garth laughed.
Okay, they were waiting for permission.
But when he laughed, everybody cracked up. But anyway, that's just some few music business stories. But it's funny. Nick and Nicole grew up with all of these celebrities, for lack of a better term, that were coming in and out of the office, or I'm going to see these guys. And they didn't even think anything about it. Mm-hmm. Nicole has Kenny Chesney's first ever autograph. Because we're at a #1 party for Aaron Tippin.
Okay.
We invite Kenny because he didn't have a record deal at the time.
Okay.
And he's trying to get into the music business. And so we wanted him to network. And, that's what we've already talked about. Networking is everything. Sales, networking, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
So we invite Kenny to this party just so we can hobnob. And Nicole my daughter had a autograph book that she would go around to these people she could even care less about being celebrities.
Yeah.
To get autographs because I told her that would mean something to her one of these days.
Sure.
And she didn't even get it at the time.
Right.
So she walks up to, I said, go get that guy's autograph. And she said, who's that? And I said, his name is Kenny Chesney. And she said, who's that? And I said, it doesn't matter, that he'll be somebody.
Yeah.
She said, okay. So she walks up there and says, can I have your autograph? And Kenny actually said, oh, honey, you don't want my autograph. I'm not anybody.
Yeah.
She said, Dad says you're going to be.
Okay.
He said, here, let me sign that.
Okay. What a great
And
story.
so he actually wrote, Nicole, you're a lot better looking than your daddy's, Kenny Chesney. And that's probably his first ever autograph, and Nicole still has it.
That's so cool.
So anyway, so they grew up with these people in our lives, and because that's what I do for a living, I didn't think a lot about it. And because that's just somebody Dad works with, sometimes before they made it, like Kenny Chesney, they didn't think much about that.
Right.
But now, I mean, Nick has played drums on the stage of the Ryman Auditorium because I had a good friend, a drummer that was huge. Paul Lime is his name.
Okay.
He played all the Shania Twain hits and all this stuff. And Paul Lime was going to play a show that had Martina McBride and a bunch of other people on it at the Ryman. Mm-hmm. And so I was trying to help Nick to learn about drums because Nick had a scholarship in college to play drums.
Okay.
And so I wanted him to hang out with Paul Lime and learn how session musicians and professional guys do things. Right. And Paul agreed to let him just help out. We call it roadie is what they call him. Help him carry his drums, the cartage part. Yeah. And so Paul gets his drums all set up, and he's wanted to hear what they sounded like out in the auditorium. Yeah. So he said, Nick, go up there and play my drums. So let me hear them. Wow. You know, make sure you hit all the tom-toms and things. And so Nick gets to play drums on the stage of the Ryman Auditorium, which is a historic place where the Grand Ole Opry started. Yes. And even helped make Martina McBride park her car. You know,
I wouldn't mind helping her park a car. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, and my wife watching, I would help her park a car.
So, you know, they just kind of grew up that way, but so did I. Mentioned my dad. Music and baseball were just part of the fabric of being a hider. Right. My dad played baseball from the moment I remember. Yeah. Right here on this field some of the time. Yeah. And, you know, and I played baseball, and music is what the hiders did when we get together. Okay. As a family, Christmas, Thanksgiving, we have
And you played drums as well. What did you do?
I play a little of everything. Okay. So I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. Oh, okay. I play guitar. I play keyboards. I never did play drums. Okay. That's a Nick thing. Okay. I bought him a guitar. He ignored it. I got him a keyboard. He ignored it.
When I was in his office the other day, he had a guitar hanging.
Well, he
had some signatures.
He can play a little bit.
And I said, "Well," and then he said, "But
he's a drummer." So he got a scholarship in college with his baseball scholarship to do both. Yeah. So that's awesome. That helped Dad out, I can assure you.
Absolutely.
So that's just kind of what we did. And Ethan is kind of following along in the same footsteps. He has his own YouTube channel, and he's either playing wiffle ball or drums or something on his YouTube channel.
He's got a really nice little set there at the garage, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. He's got his own drum room that's soundproof, so it doesn't disturb the neighbors.
I have heard him in the room and outside the room. Yeah. And I prefer to be outside the room, but I enjoyed listening to him play. He's good. No, I understand. But I walked in there and I was like, wow.
But like I said, it's not... I never set out, you know, when I was a kid and said, okay, when I grow up, I'm going to be this. Yeah. Baseball and music is just kind of what we did. Yeah. And the first band I got into it by accident.
Step into the future with Power Loops, the king of off-grid power, where our proprietary system is changing the game of energy. This isn't just power, it's freedom. The freedom to live, work, and play anywhere, powered by our innovative technology that taps into the Earth's natural energy. Our system is designed for efficiency, durability, and sustainability, ensuring that you have reliable power 365 days a year without harming the planet. Whether you're traveling in the RV, the remote wilderness, or just opting out of traditional power grids, Power Loops provides the ultimate solution. Join us in leading the charge towards a cleaner, greener, and more empowered world. Power Loops, the king of off-grid energy.
Okay.
I mean,
How did that happen?
Well, there was a gig, and I got asked to get up and play and sing, and some of the other guys said, we've been thinking about putting a band together and do some touring. So, long story short, there used to be a amusement park in Nashville called Fair Park.
Okay.
And it was located at the state fairgrounds. It was a big wooden roller coaster and everything. Well, the HIPS radio station back in the day was WMAK.
Okay.
And they had a schools out party. And they would select 10 bands to play for this big, huge schools out thing. And all the kids from all over the county would come in
Sure.
to because you got free bands and stuff to do at Fair Park.
Yeah.
Somehow we auditioned and got to be one of the 10 bands.
Okay.
And the funny part about it was these other bands came out doing these album versions of 10-minute long songs, and we came out and did pretty much the top 10 songs on WMAK that week. The kids went crazy,
Right.
Because we're playing their stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we carefully selected the guy in the band that sounded the most like whoever that was.
Yeah.
If we were doing Rolling Stones, this guy sings,
Sure. Sure.
So anyway, there's a young lady in the audience whose dad's a booking agent for some big acts.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, Dad, you got to get this band I heard today. They did all these songs that I like, and they sounded almost exactly like the record. Because that's what, in a cover band, what you do.
That's what
The more you sound like the original, the better they think you are.
Right.
So this guy calls me up, and I, at the time, was working for Bristol Myers, which I mentioned.
Right.
I ended up turning in my car keys for my company car, giving them back my expense account reports, and went on the road for 3 years as a musician.
That's so
Crazy
cool.
as that sounds.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, we went from everywhere from Colorado Springs to Philadelphia, and he would get us to open for Waylon Jennings or whatever. We'd go out and do 2 or 3 songs, and then if there was a band that, an artist that wasn't self-contained, where they didn't have their own band,
Right.
then we would, like I said, do 2 or 3 songs to kind of warm up the audience, and they're all like, "Get those guys off there!" Like, we can hear Waylon Jennings.
Yeah.
But then we would be the band for an artist or 2 that wasn't self-contained, and so we would do that. And then during the week, he would book us somewhere nearby, wherever the concert was going to be, and we'd play in a club 5 or 6 nights.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we stayed working constantly for 3 years, and honestly, though, the only reason that I left the road is I was tired of being on the road.
Yeah.
Had a chance to get a job at the publishing company that I mentioned. So that was
That was your next step.
That was my next step.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha.
but having that background of, I could relate to pitching songs to Garth Brooks or somebody,
Sure.
because I'd been out there and done that,
Mm-hmm.
and I could identify with what they're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole thing in the publishing business was to bet on people that I thought was going to make it and establish relationships. We've talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Selling.
Yep.
I get to know Kenny Chesney before he gets a record deal.
I was going to say that one turned out okay for him, and
Me too.
Yeah,
So, and I bet on Garth. I bet on Aaron Tippin.
Yeah.
So, excuse me.
No, you're good. You're good.
So if you guess right enough, you make some money.
Yeah.
So I managed to do that for 20 years.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I know that, we've done several shows, and I've grown to really appreciate what your son, his family, and you guys mean to us. Okay. And I want to say this, and before we wrap it up, but it's like, I never felt like when I met a hider that it was y'all just open. You're
Well, yeah.
genuine, real, truthful,
Yeah.
straight up people. And people see and this and that, and they're like, you mean he was with Garth? He did this. He traveled for 3 years as a musician. He's played baseball. He's done all these things. And now his son's kind of, I said earlier before we started the show, I said, is there anybody, the California people, you may have skewed it, but it's like if I needed something in Nashville, one of you guys would have that phone number right there.
Probably so. I mean, you just can't be in a city. And somebody asked me the other day if I lived in Nashville my whole life, and I said, not yet. But the rest of the time I've been here. So,
Right.
And when you've been in the music business and you have a complex that you're operating that has 35,000 people a year coming through it, and your name's on one of the fields, you just have relationships. There's people walk up to me in the mall or Kroger or whatever,
sure.
and say, "Hi, Mickey," and I have no idea why I'm supposed to know them.
But they've seen you out here.
They see my name on the field. They knew who I am.
Yeah.
And, I'll stop and have a conversation with them because I'm trying to figure out,
Right.
was it music business or baseball that we'd met before? But you just establish relationships, and because especially here at the park, because we're kind of giving Nashville a service.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's 400 plus ball games got to be played on these fields.
Right.
And, there's 12 to 15 guys on the team, and there's all the siblings and umpires and all this stuff. And we're providing a service.
Right.
So, and people, as a general rule, if the fields are nice and they look good, they usually appreciate that fact. So obviously, then the people identify me with the fields. So you have relationships you don't even know about.
Right.
I mean, there's probably some plumber, or there's probably some lawyer or a doctor or something that I know.
Yeah.
And if I thought about it in a few minutes, there might be 2 or 3. But,
Sure.
But it's just because I've been here, done that.
Yeah.
It's not a magical formula, and I'm not well connected in every area. But like I said, just the fact that I've been in a public service business for a long time, you just meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I'm happy about that. And I when I need something, that comes in handy.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I've done stupid stuff, either weightlifting or working a hair on the fields. And I remember, excuse me for telling this story.
That's good.
But I'm down there teaching a lesson to a kid in the batting cage.
Mm-hmm.
And unbeknownst to me, there's a hole in the L screen.
Okay.
Ball comes through and hits me right in the mouth.
Mm.
So it hits me so hard, it literally knocks me down, as if you knocked me down.
Yeah.
So I'm laying on my back, and this kid walks up and says, "Oh, Coach Hyder, you're really bleeding badly." And so I'm thinking, this is not good. So I grab my cell phone and I call one of my doctor friends.
Yeah.
And he's a gynecologist.
Okay.
which is an odd call.
It is an odd call. Okay.
But he's the only one I could think of at the time.
Gotcha.
And it's just one of those relationships, because I've been giving lessons to his kid.
Right.
So I call up my gynecologist.
I gotcha.
And he says, "Well, of course, Mickey, I'm not really adept at helping you, but I have a plastic surgeon in our group come onto my office."
Wow.
So that's kind of, I didn't really, the guy's name was Dr. Werther, that ended up fixing my lip, and I barely have a scar.
Right.
So, but because I had that relationship with Terry,
Absolutely.
the gynecologist, I got to a really good plastic surgeon without waiting. So
nobody else has that story.
No,
Nobody.
you can't make this stuff up.
You can't. That is so cool. That is so cool. Well, I know that you've got things to do on the field, and I want to respect your time and everything. But when we wrap up a show, if you have something that you would want to share, a quote, something that if you know a guy that's starting a business, to encourage him or tell him to, anything, if you could, this is your camera. So you just tell him, whatever you would want to say to somebody.
Well, I made up for a lack of talent and a lack of physical dexterity and a lot of other things by simply persevering.
Mhm.
I used to say I like to paralyze the resistance with my persistence. And, I always felt like I never lost a game in my life. Time just ran out on me a bunch of times, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Yes, sir.
So I think just that persistence and whatever you're dreaming,
Mhm.
whether it's to be the best podcast guy in the whole world
Yeah.
or the best baseball player or just trying to sell, is persistence. If you just will not quit, there's at least some type of ending that is positive.
Mhm.
And that's what I tell the kids that I've been involved with, my own and other kids.
Sure.
Just don't quit until you get to a point where that you've met whatever it is that your goal is.
Mhm.
And if you just don't ever quit, we said earlier in the show, that failures are just learning blocks or stepping stones to getting where you want to go.
Mhm.
And if you just don't give up, and that's especially for the younger people, that's what I want them to get.
Mhm.
Because I see a lot of younger people now that will just throw in the towel a little too early. And I've already accomplished things in my life that I really wasn't talented enough to accomplish, to be honest.
Mhm.
I just kind of, because I was just there and wouldn't quit.
Yeah.
That's the way I played college and baseball. There was guys that were a lot better than me, but just because I was always there. In fact, the lady I'm married to said, if somebody asked her, how did we get together? She said, I don't know. He was just always there.
Yeah.
And so I didn't quit on that one either. And,
Yeah.
you've seen her, she's a lot better looking than I am. So that
Vouch for that.
And that gets back to sales. doesn't
Yeah.
it? But anyway, but I don't care whether you're a salesman,
Yeah.
whatever you're doing, you're playing a sport. If you just don't quit, you've always got that opportunity to get there. And that's always been my message to every one of the kids that I've coached, to people that I've worked with and everything else. I just, quit is just not in my vocabulary.
I hear you. Well, I'm going to tell you, this has been one of my favorite shows because I've gotten to enjoy and listen. When you came in here today, you're like, I don't have anything to sell. I'm not trying to promote my new book. You know what I mean? Let's just chat. And this is the shows that are going to blow up. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking
It was my
time.
pleasure.
All right.
It was
Thank
my
you for
pleasure.
being here. And thank you guys for joining us today with Mickey Hyder and tuning in to Podcast on Wheels, powered by Power Loops.